was yet another explosive hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday, a House committee pressing forward with its investigation into the IRS's targeting of conservative groups. Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz out of Utah lashing out at the administration after one of the so-called rogue agents in Cincinnati blamed for the scandal, insisted she was just following orders when she singled out Tea Party groups seeking tax-exempt status. Here now was part of her testimony.
I would suspect that you would be one of those two rogue agents.
It was inferred that I was one of them.
Is that true? Were you
no,
one of
it was
these
not. I was following directions from management, and they were aware of what I was doing.
When the spokesperson for the President of the United States, Jay Carney, stood up before the American people and said, quote, IRS line personnel had improperly targeted conservative groups. What's the accuracy of that statement?
Sir, I know the accuracy of any inference to rogue agents is not correct.
Well, Jason Chaffetz was doing the questioning there. My guest now from the Hill. And, sir, good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
There were a lot that happened in that hearing. Where did this take you, though, in the investigation?
Well, look, we got to untangle the lies and misdirection that came out of the White House, the former acting commissioner of the IRS, and get to the truth. And so we went out, our investigators did. They found the person who was supposedly one of these rogue agents. She was just wonderful in her testimony. I thought she was direct. She was straightforward. She shouldn't be in this mess. I feel bad for her having to come to Congress. But I really take issue at how the White House has tried to blame this on two rogue agents, and that just never was the case, and we're going to untangle it.
It seems to me you're trying to figure out who from Washington was given the orders. And now has it been confirmed that the chief legal counsel for the IRS was in charge of this operation? And is he not a political appointee from the White House? Is that all true?
Yes, there are tens of thousands of IRS employees, but there are only two political appointees, the commissioner and this person who's in charge of the chief legal person. And as you look up the food chain on where it went from Lois Lerner kind of down the food chain, how this had to come up through Mr. Hall, then through Lois Lerner's office, it went over to this political appointee. And I think that's the next part of the investigation, is to figure out why is it that they requested these. We had nearly 70 years of service from these two people that testified yesterday. They said this is unprecedented. It never happened before. It was totally unique, and we need to get to the answers.
All right, now cut through all this. What does it mean if you prove that the legal counsel of the IRS in Washington was in charge of this? What does that mean?
Why? Why did they do this? I mean, we're coming on the heels of some rigorous debate about Obamacare. We're coming up into 2010. We're getting ready for the 2012 election. And suddenly we're targeting people based on their political ideals, people that are think that their government is maybe being a little bit abusive and overstepping. Why is it that they would go to such extraordinary lengths to grab those, look at them in depth, and make sure that they didn't get approved? And we're not just talking one or two, we're talking hundreds of them.
Who then has that answer?
Well, we got to find out. I mean, we're doing a good job. I think Dave Camp and Charles Bustani over in Ways and Means, and Chairman Issa and Jim Jordan and us and the Oversight Committee. I mean, we're all diving into this. We're getting a bit stonewalled, but we're going to uncover it.
Okay, now, Democrats are saying that the Inspector General who carried out this investigation was just recently given information on progressive groups or liberal groups, not just folks on the right, but folks on the left, too. Now, how extensive was that based on what you know today?
Well, my understanding is there were nearly 300 cases that were, quote-unquote, Tea Party-oriented. Over on the left side, there were maybe 6, but again, none of those were held up. And as Chairman Issa said yesterday, if there's any so-called progressive group, anybody on the left, who can point to a single case where their application was held up, please give it to the committee. But right now, they have not done that. And so we've got hundreds over on the Tea Party side. You don't have any that have any substance over on the left. If they have them, bring them to us.
Here are the numbers I have. I've got 291 for the conservative side to 7 on the liberal side. 291 to 7, and apparently, according to what we know right now, no liberal group was denied their tax-exempt status, but conservative groups had a delay of more than 500 days, and some of them are still waiting even today. Is it possible, though, that the Tea Party groups were so ticked off about Obamacare that the rush of applications from the right far outnumber those from the left, and that could explain the disparity when it goes 291 to 7? Is that possible or beyond the sense of logic or reason, sir?
I think that goes beyond the sense of logic. What they did is they took these hundreds of cases, they distilled it down into two. There were two that were so-called test cases, and that was the testimony we heard yesterday. One of those, Mr. Hall had said he accepted, the other one he was going to deny. But after that, they reassigned these cases. They brought them up to somebody who had been on the job for a couple of months. They pushed them up to the chief legal officer, and they never went anywhere. And that's what is just fundamentally wrong with this case from top to bottom.
All right,
there
Jason
was a
Chaffetz.
political direct connection here.
All right, thank you for your time. More to come.
Thanks, Bill.
Based on what we heard yesterday. Jason Chaffetz.